I was always a guy that had multiple women. I was always a guy that was abusive. I was in domestic violence. I was not a good partner, period. I didn't know what love was because I couldn't even love myself. So ultimately the family intervened, said, should part ways. But we didn't. We didn't part ways. And because we didn't part ways, one night, remember I came home and I was actually with somebody else, but I came home and she had a message on my answer machine. I went to go see her. She said, "I'll come pick me up." She stayed right around the corner. I was living in Compton at the time. So I went and picked her up. Matter of fact, just walked because she just stayed around the corner. I just met her around the corner. We got to my grandma's house and we got to talking. And she said, "Oh, you know what? I want to tell you something." And I said, "What is that?" She said, "Well, I cheated on you." I was angry, slapped her up, put my hands on her, very abusive, jealous. And then after that, she says, "Oh, I apologize." I said, "For what?" She said, "Because I lied. I didn't cheat on you. I just want to test your love." I'm like, okay, and we made up. At least that's what I thought, right? At least that's what I thought. We made up, but the next morning I would, walk her halfway home. But she was bruised. So her folks knew that when she got back, that where she was at already, and I would get a call the next morning. The next morning I would get a call from her. It said, "Hey, how you doing? Everything good?" I said, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good." And to start talking to her and stuff. And before I know it, my grandma's place was surrounded by the SWAT team and everything. I was in the attic for like 9 hours. I was in the attic for a long time with a bottle of Jack Daniels and some marijuana, just not knowing how this was going to end for me. I'm like, wow, the way they came, I'm like, this is don't look good. My grandma was calling, my great grandma was calling rather. My grandma, they went and got her. She was in dialysis. They went and got her, had her at Mona Park. As the negotiator was trying to call and get me out the house. But at this time, I kind of made a decision. I was not going to come out that house. I was going to end it. I just didn't see that. I did see this ending well for me, but they shot tear gas in there eventually. And I came out. They arrested me. Went down to the station. Initially, they said domestic violence. I'm like, okay. When I wake up, I was so drunk, I didn't recognize and realize. I said, "Man, wow, where I was at. And like, why am I here?" So same thing, domestic violence. So 6 days later, finally, when I finally go to court, the public defender came and talked to me and showed me my charges. And they were extensive.
What were they?
They were extensive. They were rape. They were kidnap. They were assault with great bodily injury, assault with a weapon. They were just extensive. And I'm like, wow. And the story was that what she said was that on that night, around 1 in the morning or something, she woke up with her stomach was hurting, and she went to get some 7-Up from the gas station. And all of a sudden, she see me at the gas station. And I approach her and force her by gunpoint to my house. That was the story that she gave them. Then all of a sudden, at 1 in the morning, this is what happened. She got, she's sick. And so she go down there when it's like 7 people in her house. But anyway, that was a story that was spent. She and I still was communicating for months because she said she was pregnant. She said she was pregnant, told my grandma she was pregnant.
Was she?
That's something, we're gonna get into all that too, man. That's go to trial. My trial life plus 240 years is what I was facing. That's what I was facing in trial. But in my trial, it all came out who I really was. I was just, because even in trial, I was an alcoholic. Every day I drank Pruno. So I'm going to trial. I'm threatening the DA, threatening the district, detective, cussing the judge out. I was just wild in my own trial. So I really didn't give myself a chance. But ultimately, I was not found guilty of all charges, but I was found guilty of 3 rapes, assault, deadly weapon, statutory rape, false imprisonment, the kidnap, not guilty, 8-4 my way. And initially, the judge gave me 24 years. He gave me 24 years, 85%. But 3 weeks later, the DA brought me back to court. She said the judge sentenced me illegally because he didn't give me no enhancements. And at the time, by law, they had to give you at least 1 enhancement. And these enhancements were 10 gun allegations. But I didn't have a gun. I wasn't caught with a gun, nothing like that. But at the time, that's what they had to do. So the judge will give me extra 7 years, to tack on a 24 to 31 years or 85%. And that was my sentence. I would go to prison. For the first couple of years, I'm sitting there angry, I'm upset, feeling mad at the world, feeling unjustly incarcerated. I'm like, how does this happen to me? I was 14, that stuff happened. I'm like, I'm 14, that stuff happened, and this stuff happens again. So I was just mad, man. I was mad at the world. But I remember sitting in a cell in Lancaster in 2005, January the 1st. And I was drinking Pruno, smoking marijuana. I got thinking about my life. I said, wow. I'm sitting there partying for New Year's. I said, my life ain't nothing to celebrate. And I can sit here and inquire about being unfairly incarcerated, but it's all my fault. Put myself in a situation. I made bad decisions that caused me to be here. I had a grandma, great grandma that loved me. They took care of me really good. Great uncles, great aunties, but I didn't appreciate nothing. I always cried and complained about a mother that wasn't there, the father that wasn't there. What about those that were there? So that day I prayed. I said, God, here it is. I thought you left me as a child when I was molested. And then the other guy wanted to do the same. But here it is. You never left me. Because I'm here right now. And I got this horrible thing that I'm up under. But you're still with me. I'm still alive. Most of my friends are dead. And most of them are in here and they do have life, but I don't have a life sentence. So I have hope. I prayed. I said, God, if you can use me today, if you can use me to serve you, let me do that. It don't matter that at the time my parole date was 2005 and my parole date was 24 years down the line. It didn't matter. It was a matter about finally being my grandma's grandson and great grandma's great grandson. So that day I made a decision, a conscious decision to turn my life around, regardless of whatever. And it was difficult, especially with the stigma allegations against me, my conviction being inside prison. It was hard, but I made it a point to go above and beyond, to be different, right? To stand out. So people know when they see Dave, they know Dave is about his business. And because of that, I was able to just carve a path off of myself and be ordained as a minister in 2012. ARC pushed through Senate Bill 261, youth offender bill that would grant me early parole almost 10 years early because I was doing so well inside. And I went to parole board having just completed my associate's degree in business a few months prior. And I went to parole board for the first time in on September 3rd, 2020, and was found suitable. The board members spoke of how proud they were of me, and here it is. My ex at the time I was in prison for, she spoke at my board hearing, and she actually apologized at that board hearing.
The ex that wound up playing a role in you getting the sentence.
Yeah, she apologized, but not for everything. She didn't apologize for everything, but she apologized because remember I told you about the baby. She had told my grandma she had a baby. January the 9th, 2004. She supposed to give birth to this daughter, Sierra. She supposed to been bringing it to see my grandma. I've been writing letters, and these letters were all designed, and I still have them, I got them right here, man. I got them right here. That's a part of my board packet, and these letters were just designed to, if I ever to contact her, to build a relationship, to not be in odds with her mom. Whatever her mom said, this is what happened. Dad was a bad dude. Dad made some horrible decisions, and I don't have no excuses for that. I'm a different person today, and I have a lot to offer. So that's what these letters were about. But for 17 years, I thought that was a daughter, but she said that she apologized that there never was a daughter.
There was no baby at all.
No, because as I was speaking, and as a matter of fact, the board commissioner was looking at my stuff. He's like, "Oh, who is Sierra?" Which is supposed to be my daughter. And in the board, he said, "What would you tell Sierra about healthy relationships?" Sierra being my daughter again. And I went on to explain what I would tell my daughter about healthy relationships and what to look for as I able to identify within myself the traits of, an individual that just don't need to be in a relationship, having mother issues and having anger issues and just having things of that nature, being emotionally damaged and not having that part of your life repaired. So me sharing that with the board member, then the DA speaks at our board hearings. The DA says, see, that shows you how his mental status, and that he fabricated a daughter. He has no daughter with Sylvia. There is no daughter. There never was a daughter, and I don't know what he's thinking about. So actually, that's when she spoke up and she said, "I want to apologize for that. I lied about that." And that's kind of like when I kind of lost control of the board, but not verbally or saying anything crazy, but just emotionally, it just all came out because here it is. I've been writing these letters and, just preparing myself, ultimately to, hey, if one day, if I'm to meet this little girl, I'm coming to her totally as a different person, as somebody that can speak from experience about really what a healthy relationship is and what a man is today. So, that sums that up, man. And even like in the situation 92 came up in my board hearing because, they speak of a nexus, right? A nexus about, that can lead to other crimes. Like this happened in 92, and I had to explain, like, here it is, I'm coming before you and y'all want us to be honest. How can I be honest about something that I can't even explain to you? I don't know nothing about it. I can't even tell you what happened that day. I said my file and what I've accomplished speaks for itself. I plan on coming here and spinning a story for you about that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to spin a story about, oh, this is what I did. This is how it happened. This is what I learned. No, I didn't learn nothing from that because I didn't do anything. I was a young Black man that got caught up, and I would later learn that my ex at the time, she was drugged. Because my sister and my cousin, because of that, they beat that girl up. Right? They beat that girl up. And my cousin, when I got out this time, she knew more about that stuff than I did. She was drugged. And I still don't ever know how. The main part is I still don't know how I got caught up like that. And I still haven't come in contact with my friend Deshaun, because I honestly got some questions to ask him. I just want some closure. I don't like to look back into the past because I'm living such a good life. I've been able to got out last February, 2021. Start working with CEO March 7th, Center for Employment Opportunities, working for part-time with the Caltrans crew. Then 2 months later in May, I will get a permanent position as a client aide in a restoration program of Christ Center Ministries, working with individuals in a home. They are mentally ill. They have been incarcerated lower level. They go to this program because they are mentally incapable of standing trial. And they tell them, hey, you go to this program for 2 years, you complete the program, they get them housing, and they help them with their lives. And honestly, I wasn't able to have that job because of my conviction, right? And when I did my going through my training, they stopped my training because of the background check, and they said we want to talk to you further. Initially, I was a little bit discouraged, but then I said, hey, they just want to talk to me. Okay, that's what I do best. Life is about choices and decisions. I made some poor ones, but I can tell you that for the past 17, I've been making some great ones, and I got evidence to prove it. So I actually put together an employment testimony, and then through CEO, the Center Employment Opportunity, had legal representation up on the Project Impact. And my legal representation, Giovanni Pesci, he reviewed the letter I had put together and drafted. He edited. He said, you don't have to share so much, right? He said, just what you need to share. So I presented that, and then with evidence of rehabilitation, went down there before the board, their board at Christ Center Ministries, spoke before about 4 women about my truth, about my past. And I've still been working there. I still work there now. I do that in addition to ARC. That's my job. I do 30 hours a week. You know, so I've been able to overcome it to an extent, but I'm still on parole. I got an ankle monitor. I got groups I got to attend, places I got to be, things I can't, you know, still. Still difficult, but nobody knows.